Big interview coming up. What if your phone could help you prepare for your next interview? What if your phone knew everything about the job description and the company and those really difficult questions? Restart the interview.
We have restarted. Tell me about a time when project requirements changed significantly mid-development, such as a new client data source, a compliance rule, or a scope shift. How did you adapt your .NET or data integration work, and what was the outcome?
I basically created a new scope. I documented all the changes and I created a meeting to relaunch the changes.
Hit, defined new scope and communicated. Gap, lacked specific technical details on agile adaptation or risk mitigation. Sharpen, describe a technical approach such as modular design and how you managed communication to mitigate risks. Design a strategy to handle large data migrations without downtime.
Welcome to interview 1 of 5 for the Microsoft Director VP of Marketing and Business Development role. I'm ready to begin with your immediate feedback mode. Let's start. Question 1 of 15. What is Microsoft's official mission statement, and how has it evolved to incorporate the era of AI? Take your time and give me your full answer.
Sure, we'll keep rolling along. For this question, go ahead and share what you know about Microsoft's primary revenue segments from their latest reports and how the Microsoft Cloud segment has been growing year over year. Take your time. All right, thanks for that answer. For this one, I'd give you a 2 out of 5. You definitely mentioned Azure as a key segment, and that's good. The gap is that we didn't hear about other segments or any specific year over year growth details. So next time, just add a note about Intelligent Cloud or Microsoft 365, and we'll keep everything rolling forward.
Q1. Proven recruiting operates across direct hire, interim, and executive search. Which of these revenue streams do you believe is most sensitive to the current economic climate, and why?
Direct hire because of AI.
Score 2 out of 5. Hit. Pick direct hire. Gap because of AI. Misses the economic angle. No link to hiring cycles or downturns. Sharpen. Direct hire. Companies freeze permanent headcount first in recessions, while interim flexes with demand. Q2. Design a strategy to handle large data migrations without downtime.
None. Did not answer the question. Gap. No comparison of Azure App Services versus containerization provided. Sharpen. Discuss trade-offs in terms of cost, scalability, operational complexity, and portability between the options. Describe a time when you had to explain a complex technical concept, such as data transformation logic, async processing, or error handling in .NET to non-technical stakeholders like recruiters, clients, or managers. How did you approach it, and what was the outcome?
So in this episode, I'm going to show you how to research all the related questions for a mock interview, including the job description, the company profile, and those behavioral questions that are really difficult to answer. And the AI is not only going to score you, it's also going to give you feedback and mentoring. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to give you all the prompts and I'm going to show you exactly what to do. Hi, my name is Christian, and welcome to Creating Job Security by Mastering the AI Superstack. Before we start, let's briefly mention the next 3 episodes coming up. The next episode is a continuation of using AI on your smartphone with 3 different prompts: 30-second elevator pitches, run sales cold play, and executive presence and speaking. Then we move on creating an AI voice PowerPoint, another great example on how to save time while you gather your thoughts during the day, and the use of AI and your smartphone. And finally, we use AI to customize your resume so you can upload the job description and the company profile, and AI will modify your resume in a matter of minutes. So please subscribe so you don't miss the 3 upcoming valuable episodes. The agenda for today's episode is very simple. We're going to talk about token usage, which should be a priority if you get laid off. And I have an episode for the cost of AI subscriptions after layoffs, and you should watch that. I will post the link in the description. Then we'll show you how to aggregate questions and answers for your AI voice mock interview. After that, we will build 5 interview prompts. Each prompt is a mock interview. For those of you who have never used AI in your smartphone, I will show you how to download and install Gemini, but the interview works with many AI apps. And finally, we will run a voice mock interview. So let's talk briefly about token usage and why it matters. The AI companies quantify AI usage in tokens and requests, and those requests could come in 2 forms, a chatbot or an API call. That being said, if you're laid off, most AI models agree that your AI usage will increase, and at the same time, your budget will decrease. So in order to make your AI usage not exceed the 3 thresholds that AI companies give you on free accounts, we're going to spread the work around. Now let's talk about prompt chaining. That is the practice of creating a prompt that will produce a result, and that result will be consumed by another prompt. Not only this reduces the amount of tokens inside a single AI platform, but also simplifies the prompts. If we try to do this entire thing in one single prompt, not only the prompt will be huge and complex, but would also consume a lot of tokens at the same time. So the best practice is to break everything into small chunks, gather information, then aggregate the information, and finally do the mock interview. So for the interviews, which are actual prompts, we're going to use a technique called semantic intent matching, which is going to preload the questions, answers, red flags, keywords, and other things. Although this technique is more token heavy than just including the questions, it'll give you a higher quality mock interview because it will force the AI to behave like a mentor or a coach instead of just running the interview like a script. If you're in an interview, even for a mock interview, the words might not come out perfectly. People get nervous, you might stutter words, etc. If you really think about it, a mock interview with your smartphone could never be possible without AI. The real question here is how expensive in tokens will that mock interview be? And that is the difference between a good prompt engineer and some of those other AI channels you're watching. AI prompts need to be optimized to use the minimum amount of tokens possible, especially if the predictions are correct. We will have millions of white-collar workers unemployed, and they're not going to have the money to throw around in bad-written prompts or workflows. We are now going to extract the questions out of the job description, and for that you need 2 things. You need the prompt, and you need a job description. Now the prompt is designed to give me 2 batches of 25 questions each, and this is the 3rd test that I run using a free ChatGPT account. The first time I ran this test, I had no issues. And one of the things I did at the end of the run is I asked it how many tokens did it use, and it used about 11,500, which is very high for a free account. You need to understand that these AIs, they throttle you and they don't want you to ask for too many things, especially these expensive prompts, very often. So they give you about 10 messages every 5 hours. And the fact that ChatGPT free account cannot cope with generating so many questions out of different job descriptions within a few hours might seem discouraging. But remember what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to make the interview feel more like a mentor or a coach. And quality is the most important thing. So what we're doing is we're preloading on generating the job description questions, generating the behavioral questions, generating the company-related info questions. So now that you understand why we're preloading, let me show you what happened during the construction of the job description questions. So as I mentioned, the first test, everything ran fine. But in the second test, things didn't run as smooth as the first one. First of all, it gave me a warning. It told me I only had 3 messages left. And then I had to actually force the AI to give me batch 1, which happened by default the first time I ran this. And then in batch 2, it only gave me 15 questions. And that means you will experience degradation when using expensive prompts inside free accounts more than once inside the 5-hour window. Every time you try to extract the questions out of the job description inside that window, the quality of the response will go down. Okay, so let's run our third test. We're going to go to the prompt. We're going to copy it. And then we're going to go to our free account. This is my third test. I'm not sure if 5 hours have gone by. And it's going to ask me for the job description. So let's go to any job description in LinkedIn. And I don't know if we need the about the company, but so let's go right here and right click and copy, and let's run it. Let's see what happens. And if it doesn't run, there we go. So it's generating the questions for this job description. And it's very important. So I did this test 2 times, and I had to start copying under overview. So not about the company, just the overview all the way to the bottom. So it could be a little finicky sometimes, but that's what you have to do. So the first batch is finished, and as you can see, this is question number 2, and then we move on to 3. It's generating questions for someone who's in marketing, and so batch 1 is complete. So the only thing you have to do is hit continue. So that basically, so look at that. It only generated 10 questions in batch 1. Yes. So there you go. So the behavior inside a free account is not consistent. So the first time I ran this, it was, I think, a technical job description, and it ran all 50 questions. The second time I ran it, it only did 40. And now in the first batch, it only gave me 11. So that's what you're going to expect. You might not be able to run more than 1 job description every 5 or 6 hours at most using a free ChatGPT account. So it's time to start aggregating behavioral questions. This is probably the most abstract section of an interview, since there's no real right or wrong. And therefore, some of you are wondering, what is the point of including these questions inside the mock interview? Behavioral questions are where the people quietly lose the offer. This is where you either ramble or prove impact. A lot of people answer halfway. They explain the situation, maybe the task, and then drift off. No clear result, no measurable outcome, no leadership signal. And that's the difference. Behavioral answers aren't just about what you did. They're about how you think, how you handle pressure, how you deal with conflict, how you influence people, how you recover when things go wrong. They reveal level. A mid-level answer sounds like, here's what I worked on. A senior level answer sounds like, here's the problem, here's the decision I made, here's the trade-off, and here's the measurable impact. That framing matters because companies don't promote storytellers, they promote impact. And behavioral questions are where you prove it. So why are we using Grok and Gemini? Because we're going to piggyback onto Grok's social media capabilities since it's owned by X, and Gemini since it's owned by Google. Yes, this mock interview takes real advantage of the AI Superstack. Okay, so the time has come to run the behavioral question aggregator, and we're just going to mention that it works just like the other prompt. It's only going to get 20 questions because this whole thing is going to create 5 mock interviews, and each mock interview is going to have 20 questions each, of which are composed of behavioral questions, job description questions, and company questions. And so we don't want to make the whole interview about behavioral questions because that's not reality. So in total, we're going to only get 20 questions from here. And we have 2 options. Like I mentioned before, we can run it in Gemini and we can run it in Grok. Okay, so we're running the prompt both in Gemini and Grok. And the prompt is going to ask you for the company name as required. But I really recommend that you also include the title. And the reason why, because it's going to tailor the search in order to get you the behavioral questions for that title. And if you have any research, it's also recommended that you paste that link. But for the time being, I only have the company name and the title. So I'm gonna, for this test, I'm gonna use Microsoft, and the role or title is gonna be Chief Marketing Officer. Same thing I'm gonna do in Gemini. Gemini is also gonna ask me for the company name as required, and for the role title is optional. I'm gonna use the same one, okay? So the prompt has finished running in both Grok and Gemini, and in Gemini, it gave me everything I wanted, but I had to do the continue after question number 10. So if we go to 10, let's see, this is 9, 10. And so I had to actually type continue, and then it finished in number 20. So everything ran without problems in this free account. And for Grok, Grok does not stop at question number 10. It goes all the way to 20 without asking to continue. So if we go to 9, 10, here's question number 10. And so it went to 11, and then it finished in number 20 as well. So here's question number 20. So I went to Grok and I asked him, how many times can I run this prompt asking for the behavioral questions? And it was very vague. It didn't tell me how many tokens I used, but it basically gave me a generic answer, which means that I can run this 10 times every 2 hours, and that is a very vague answer. So I can probably run this 120 times during a 24-hour period. And for Gemini, I'm using a paid account. So I did run this same prompt with the same company and title in a free Gemini account. And it basically said that I used between 3,500 and 4,500 tokens. But it was also very vague into how many times I could run this every day. So so there you go. Unfortunately, some of these AI models and platforms, they just don't tell you. All right, now let's talk about the prompt that aggregates company information. We're heading back to Gemini and Grok, just like we did with the behavioral questions. Why? Because we're piggybacking on what each one does best. Grok brings strong social media awareness, and Gemini gives us powerful Google search reach. Together, they give us a much wider lens on a company than any single model ever could. Behind every strong prompt, there's industry know-how, there's experience, and most importantly, there's an understanding of what's actually possible and realistic with AI. For example, I then include every possible business category inside the prompt. Why? Because large prompts cost more. Tokens are money. So if you notice a category missing that's relevant to your industry, add it. This system is designed to be flexible, not bloated. Another thing, and this is very important, a lot of people assume that every job they apply to will match the level of their previous role, but sometimes the company name alone should tell you something. Not every company is a Fortune 500 giant. Some are startups, some are growing, some might not fully match your expectations yet. That's why the aggregation prompt has 3 response tiers based on how much real data the model can actually collect. If there's a lot of information available, great, you get deep analysis. If the company's smaller or newer, the system adapts instead of hallucinating. Now, to keep this video short and practical, we're going to use Microsoft as our example and walk you through how this aggregation layer works in a real-world scenario. So the response is back for both Gemini and Grok, and the question and answers came in the same format as the previous 2 sections, which is the job description and the behavioral question. So there's no difference in that end. So if we go down, I asked one more time how many tokens were used in this request and how many times can I run this a day. And so Gemini says I used between 3,000 and 3,700 tokens. So let's run the interview creator, and it's not a large prompt, but basically it's going to create 5 different interviews. And let me copy the prompt. And for this, we're only going to use Claude, okay? Now, with the prompt, we're going to actually attach the 3 different aggregators, question aggregators. So let me show you how that looks like. So we have the company info. And like I mentioned, we can use either Grok or Gemini to get the company info, and also the behavioral questions is Grok or Gemini. And for the job description, we used ChatGPT, but we're not using both files. So I either pick Grok or Gemini for behavioral, or I pick either Grok or Gemini for the company info, but not both. Okay, because so if it's 30 questions for company info, that will be 60 questions if I pick both. And if it's 20 questions for behavioral, and if I pick both, that will be 40 questions. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to overwhelm the interview creator. So let's drop the prompt and the 3 files at the same time, and let's run it. Okay, so the prompt took several minutes to run, and it gave me basically 5 different interviews and 5 different code boxes. And as you can see, I can easily copy each interview by just clicking on the copy button. So after the 5 prompt interviews were created, I asked, like I did to all the other prompts I have run in this episode, how many tokens were used and how many times I can run it through the day. And it said it used between 30 to 50,000 tokens, which is a lot. Now it said I could probably run this 1 to 2 times per reset window. So I asked it, what is the definition of a reset window? And it's 5 hours. And that means we can only do this 6 to 8 times a day. So how do we upload the interviews into my phone? We are going to move these 5 interviews, which are sitting inside code boxes. Okay, for example, this is interview number 4. By clicking on the copy button inside Claude, we're going to go into Google Gemini. We're going to open a new chat. Okay, and I'm going to paste that prompt and run it. And what happens when I run it, it creates an entry in my chat history. Now, only inside the browser version of Gemini, I can rename it. So if this is number 4, I'm going to put the number 4 in here. Now, for this episode and for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use an emulator. So I have my phone sitting in my hand, but I also have an emulator. And if I go to that emulator, I can load up my phone, which is right here. So if I type in something using my phone, say something like hello. So I'm using my phone right now. This is my phone. You're seeing on the screen, but I'm using my phone right now to type. Okay, it's a pleasure to meet you, blah, blah, blah. But if I go to the chat history, you will see that I don't see the number 4 Microsoft Marketing. So what do I have to do to sync it? Using my phone, I'm going to select Close All. Okay. And what's going to happen next is I'm going to reload the Gemini app inside my phone. And then once I do that, and if I go to history, I will see interview number 4. So this interview number 4, which is sitting in my phone, is also this interview number 4 sitting in my web browser. And if I go back to, let's say, Claude, and I copy interview number 3, here's interview number 3, and I do the same exercise. I open a new chat window, and I paste number 3, and I run it. It's going to create an entry in my chat history. Here's my entry. And if I rename this, and I put a number 3 in here, okay, rename it, and I go back to my phone, okay, so if I go back to my phone, you'll see that it doesn't appear here. So what I'm going to do is, using my phone, I'm going to close everything, and I'm going to reload my Gemini app, and then I'm going to go to history using my phone, and you see number 3. And that's how you move the interviews from Claude into the Gemini browser. And from the Gemini browser, you close it in your phone and you reload the Gemini app, and the interview will appear in your phone. And so how do you run the interview? Well, using your phone, you're going to click on the interview, and then you're going to click on this audio button using your phone. Let's run it. That's very simple.
Welcome to interview 3 of 5 for the Microsoft Director/VP of Marketing and Business Development role. Before we begin, would you like feedback after each question, immediate, or after every 3 questions, delayed? Reply immediate or delayed.
Immediate.
Great. We will proceed with immediate feedback after each response. Question 1. What is your approach to strategic planning for growth?
I would say study as much existing growth that the company is currently creating and issue a plan based on that.
Score 2. Hit. Identified the need to analyze existing company growth data as a foundational step. Gap. Lacked a structured execution roadmap, specific KPIs, and alignment with future state targets. Sharpen. Focus on how you tread into actionable growth levers and measurable performance indicators.
Before I forget, we need to show you how to install the Gemini app. And for that, I'm going to use my old iPhone 11 Pro Max, which is now 7 years old. And it's going to work, but the rest of this section will be done using the video from my other phone. Okay, the time has come to download the Gemini app into my old iPhone. And so what I'm going to do, I'm right in here in the App Store. I'm going to click search, and I'm going to type Gemini. Okay, and so what are we looking for? We're looking for Google Gemini. And so there it is. This is Google Gemini. There, that's the option for Google Gemini. So let's click on that. And we're going to click the download icon. Okay, so the Gemini has finished downloading. It's telling me I can open it now from inside the App Store. So I'll click open icon in here. And then what's going to happen, it's going to tell me to download what an existing account. This existing account that you see right here is probably because I also have Gmail installed in my iPhone. So I'm going to use that. If not, you're going to have to log in using your existing Gmail account or create a login directly into Gemini. So the next thing I did is I went to my Gmail app inside my iPhone, and I basically sent the interview to myself. So what I'm doing now is I'm selecting everything, and I'm going to right click. Well, you can't right click on the iPhone, but you're going to hit copy. So I'm copying the interview. And so I'm going to go now back to the Gemini app. I'm going to paste it in here. So let me paste it. There it is, paste. And I'm going to run it, okay? And so when you run this inside your iPhone Gemini app or even in the Samsung, if you want to hear what it has to say, you have to click the audio button. So click the audio button.
Would you like feedback after each question, immediate, or after every 3 questions, delayed? Reply immediate or delayed.
So I found out that in this old iPhone, it's kind of finicky, but you should be able to just tap on this audio button, talk back, but it doesn't work the first time. So if I click in here and I say allow the microphone, yes, allow, and I say immediate, it doesn't, oh yeah, it did work this time. So let's, so that's not the right answer. Let's try it one more time.
Understood. We will proceed with immediate.
Oh, so it did
feedback
understand
after each
immediate.
response.
So now it's going to give me the first
Describe
question.
your experience leading business development teams.
I have no experience.
Score 0. Hit none. Gap total lack of leadership, revenue accountability, or team management experience. Sharpen. Focus on transferable influence skills, project lead roles, or specific instances where you steered a commercial strategy to bridge the gap. Question. What are the primary revenue segments for Microsoft as reported in their most recent fiscal quarter, and how has the Microsoft Cloud segment specifically performed in terms of year-over-year growth?
So as you see, it's giving me the questions, and I can scroll down to see what is the latest question. And if I want to answer that question, I would hit this microphone icon. So I could say, I think they're doing pretty good, but I really don't know.
Hit none. Gap. Failed to identify primary segments or specific cloud growth metrics. Sharpen. In a VP level interview, you must reference the 3 segments: productivity and business processes, intelligent cloud, and more personal computing. And note that Microsoft Cloud revenue recently exceeded $50 billion with 26% growth. Question. Tell me about a time when you had a significant disagreement with a key stakeholder, such as a senior executive, partner agency, or cross-functional leader, regarding a marketing strategy or campaign direction. What was the situation? What actions did you take to resolve the conflict? And what was the outcome?
And basically that does it. So we installed the Gemini app in this very old iPhone, and I show you how to interact. If the microphone icon doesn't work and you have problems, you can always type in your answer. You can click on the box and say, I don't know. Okay. Now, once you move into the typing section, this thing is going to stop talking to you. So if you want the interview to continue in an audio mode, you're going to have to click on the microphone or the loudspeaker icon.
Score 0. Hit none. Gap. Failed to provide a situational example of conflict resolution or stakeholder management. Sharpen. Use the STAR method to describe a data-driven approach where you aligned a dissenting executive with a One Microsoft vision to ensure campaign success. Question. What experience do you have in enterprise technology sales?
So that's it. So if you move to a keyboard mode, it's going to stop talking. And if you want to move back to the audio mode, you're going to have to click this icon. And if you want to answer, you're going to have to click this icon down here using voice. Okay, so that was my old iPhone, but now we're going to move to a flagship Samsung S25 Ultra phone. And this phone, and I think most of Samsung phones or phones running Android have one advantage. And that's that when you load Gemini and you go, let's load one of the interviews. Okay, so this one, let's load interview number 4. And we run it, you don't have to press this button anymore to talk to Gemini. And the reason why is because the sidebar button, the power button, works just like in the iPhone for Siri. So if we start this interview and I say, let's run the interview.
Welcome to interview 4 of 5 for the Microsoft Director/VP of Marketing and Business Development role. Before we begin, would you like feedback after each question, immediate, or after every 3 questions, delayed? Reply immediate or delayed.
So if I wanted to reply, I could click on this button right here like we did with the iPhone, because the Gemini app is not native to the iPhone, it's Siri. But in a Samsung phone, in an Android phone, the Gemini app is native. So if I want to reply, I can either click on this icon right here, or I can click on the power button, and that is the difference. So it gets easier. So if I say immediate, you see?
Understood. We will proceed with immediate feedback after each response. Q1 company_info. Can you describe the key updates to Microsoft 365 Copilot announced in 2025 and how they enhance the product's functionality?
And that is the main reason why I chose the Gemini app to create the mock interviews, because first of all, it's native to Android and most Samsung phones have it. And then we cannot install Siri into Samsung, but we can install Gemini into iOS. And that concludes the demonstration. And as you can see, if you have a more modern phone, the interview is going to run less choppy and it's going to be faster. And that's for all the apps in my old iPhone. So now I'm going to show you how to download the prompts. This is called GitHub. and I'm going to post this link in the video description. And GitHub works just like any other website. You're going to choose the language that you understand, and you have two options to downloading the prompts. You can click on the full download file and then click on the download icon, and that will download all 4 prompts. Or you can click on every individual prompt and then click on the download icon as well, and that will download only 1 prompt at a time. Or you can click on the code button, select everything inside, right click, and select copy. And this will allow you to paste it inside your computer and any text editor. And that's how you download the prompts. So here are my final thoughts. So how did the semantic intent matching work out finally for Gemini? Well, it worked very well if you have a paid account. If you have a free account, then it actually uses more tokens, but the quality of the interaction during the interview will go up, because if you don't include the answer in the scoring system, the AI will run just like a simple script answering questions in a very basic mode. When you use semantic intent matching, then what happens is that you actually take advantage of the AI and it becomes a mentor. That brings us to the end of this episode. If you'd like to connect or continue the conversation, feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn, and thank you for watching.